The next question is exactly what I mentioned before. There's so many myths around real estate, right? Myself, in the past, I've thought so many times whenever I've thought about pivoting my career on getting my real estate license, like, something to do. But that's the first thought that comes to mind, right? The thought of having to get my license. But I know in previous conversations that we've had, that's not necessarily the case. And that's where I love what you did, and we'll continue talking about that. But what would you say are, I guess, the top three myths of real estate overall? And please help me demystify these.
So the first one that you mentioned is a good one. You do not have to have a license for everything. You can be an investor and not have a real estate license. It is actually suggested that you don't get a license if your focus is going to be investing, because when you get your license and if you become a realtor, then you're held by a code of ethics. Whereas, so you're held to more of a standard. So if you screw up or whatever as an investor, you're still a civilian, so to speak. So that's one avenue that you could take in real estate, that you don't need a real estate license. And then what I do as a transaction coordinator, yes, I'm licensed, and I guess I feel like it does help because I'm also in my own contracts and learning different pivots and things like that. I have access to a broker and a whole group of agents behind me that I can ask questions to, and that helps me become a better TC for my TC real estate agent clients. Like, I love working with new agents in that space, in the TC space, because I also provide a lot of value for them just with the education that I have access to and that I already know, because I've seen so many contracts. So I know how to save a deal from dying. I've seen a lot. So that is a value add that I add to that space, to new and seasoned real estate agents, because even a seasoned agent can have something different that has never happened to them at any given time in what we do. So that is one myth. I guess the second one is also that a realtor and a real estate agent are both one and the same. And they're not. So to be a realtor, you have to be a part of a board. We have to pay dues every month. We're held by a higher standard, and we're backed by the National Association of Realtors. Whereas a real estate agent is not. So nothing wrong with it, but it's just an added credential, I guess you could say, to the consumers at large. So what else? Another myth about real estate. Oh, well, right now, a myth about real estate is that that you don't need any money to buy a house. So this is a twofold myth. So number one, you don't need a whole lot of money to buy a house. Like, there was one time where you had to have 20% as a down payment. Right. You no longer need 20% down. You need minimum 3%, 3.5% for an FHA, which is a government-backed loan, and there are 100% financing, so you can have a loan with no down payment as well. So that's one. So before last year, that's what I would tell people. Oh, you don't need a lot of money, but you're gonna need some. Now, on the other side of that coin is people that think that they can get down payment assistance no matter how much money they make, or that they don't need, or all they need is their down payment because the seller will pay their closing costs. Yes, pre-COVID, last year when this whole frenzy started, yes, we would always get the seller to contribute to pay a buyer's closing costs, but that is no longer happening. We are in a seller's market right now. Okay. The market right now, we have in the Atlanta metro area about less than a month's worth of inventory. In a stable market, there are 6 months of inventory in a stable market. So to put it in perspective, it would take currently less than a month to offload every home that's for sale, every piece of inventory that's for sale. It would take less than a month to do that right now.
That's insane.
So there's no inventory, but there are a million buyers with
Hmm.
some with money. So what I have to tell the conversation I have to have with buyers now is you're gonna need some money now. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna need your down payment. You're gonna need to pay for your own closing costs, which is gonna
Hmm.
run you about another 3.5% or so of
Okay.
the sales price. And you're gonna need a little bit of money to play with because buyers are offering anywhere from 10,000 and up more than what the home is even listed as. So to compete, you're gonna need some money. So if you only have your down payment, I'm sorry, but it's just gonna be a futile effort of us going out looking for a home. Because it's just that crazy of a market right now. So yes, that's a myth. Both sides. Myth is you need 20% down payment, and the other myth is I can buy a house currently in this market with minimal funds. Can't do it.
Can't do it. It has, as you always say, it's more of a balance, like maybe a middle ground.
Right, exactly.
Aw-
Exactly.
Have you felt at any point, being a woman in real estate, that you've been treated differently than your male counterparts?
um, Not any differently than by anyone. I have had male counterparts though. Um, expect me to do all the work, like all the administrative work. And this is me being so putting on my agent hat.
Yeah.
And the TC hat actually, because when I'm a transaction coordinator, only one agent is paying me. So the
Got it.
agent on the other side, I'm not doing your stuff. I'm
Hmm.
doing my agent stuff. So a lot of times I've noticed if it's a male and he doesn't have an assistant, they're looking at me on whether it's a real estate agent or a TC hat that I'm wearing. I've noticed that sometimes, and that could just, but it doesn't happen often. So that really could just be that individual, you know. So I can't really say that. Like I said, I'm lucky that in our market, it feels as if the women are dominating, especially women of color. And that
Yes.
could be because that's who I'm mostly around. That's who I mostly follow on social. So that's who I see the most.
Mhm.
Um, but so it really, male versus female hasn't really even been an issue for me personally.
That's great to hear, right? Because me coming from HR and seeing different things, right, on the back end, or like discrepancies in compensation, or opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Those are the types of conversations that are constantly happening. The diversity topic, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But you're right. I mean, at least here in Atlanta, I can't really speak about New York. I have met a couple of women, is predominantly all women, who are in the real estate industry, and all women of color. So that to me is amazing. Another reason why that brought me to Atlanta, by the way, is the diversity factor.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
feeling represented. When you look around you, do you feel represented, right? Yes, in New York, we do have that. I mean, New York is a melting pot. But in New York, even as a consumer, when we were, I don't know, looking for an apartment or anything, I never dealt with a female. So that also goes to say a lot about location, I guess. And
Correct.
I'm just
I
thinking
agree.
out loud.
Yep. I agree totally that it has everything to do with location.
Yeah.
I feel just in general that New York is definitely more male dominated, in probably every area, in New York. And then also with HR. So another thing that I love about real estate, um, outside of the corporate realm.
Oh, I can't hear you. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
So another thing that I love about real estate is that you chart your own territory. In my opinion, because of my mindset, there is no glass ceiling. There are no males. There are no male competition. Like because
Yeah.
we are not held to, we're not in corporate anymore. It's not a lot of bureaucracy. You are governing yourself accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on your mindset. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have a strong mindset and positive mindset that you will and you can. And so that's what I have. And I didn't always have that. I don't think I've ever been not confident, but I've never been this confident since
I love
being a
that.
business owner. It's like, and this is crazy coming from somebody like me who is a Virgo. I like have predictability, stability, all the abilities. I like to have a steady paycheck. And I have had that since I started with this. I don't, so it's just like that is, you have to have the mindset in place in order to be strong in this. And so when people are, complaining about the other side of the table on deals and things like that, if you believe, if you believe, it sounds so cliche, but if you believe that you can do it and if you believe in yourself, then you will get it done. You
Yeah.
know, and if it's within the alignment that you have already set. So if my alignment, my why is I want to be able to work from anywhere so that I can be more available for my family,
Mm-hmm.
then everything that I do is kind of going towards that. So it doesn't concern me, again, like, my top producing agent friends, doesn't concern me that they
Yeah.
are millionaires. I love
Right.
it.
You're focusing.
I want to be around that energy.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so, it's not a spirit of comparison there. And I
No.
think that comes, I feel like owning my own business has, um, has help my confidence.
I was gonna ask,
Um,
do you feel that that switch happened? Was it before
Man,
becoming a business owner? Do you feel like it was?
no, it's been since I've been a business owner, and probably since I would say I really figured out the transaction coordinator side of it. So how I got into that was interesting too. So I got into real estate just as a real estate agent, that I'm going to sell real estate, whatever. And I met Yakira Price, who's not on here. Hope this is going to be a replay. Is this going to
I'll
be
say
a replay
it'll
or
be,
save?
yeah.
So yeah, so anyway, at the time I didn't know her personally, but we had a mutual friend, my hairstylist, Keisha, who
Okay.
actually colored my hair recently. Shout out to Beautiful
Oh my
Clue.
gosh, you did an amazing job. Yeah,
Thank you.
on Instagram.
She did. So we shared the same hairstylist, but had never met. And so I pretty much was like, Keisha, I got my license. And the first thing that I do and the first thing that I recommend when you get a real estate license or any industry that you want to get into, I'm big on social media. Like I don't want to have to go to a networking event. I'd rather just see who you are online. I'm not a networker. So I'm not an in-person networker.
Mhm.
So, I started immediately before I got my license, I started hashtagging Atlanta real estate agent. Let me see who's working. Everybody that I looked at, I'm still cool with today. But Yakira, I was like, oh, I got an in on her. We share the same hairstylist. So let me try to see what's up with her. So we became cool. I came in at the right place at the right time because I see how many people ask her for mentorship and things like that. And she just didn't have time to do it or whatever. But somehow we aligned, and so we started to work together. She became my mentor, and then as I started to shadow her, she started to show me like the contracts and things like that. That is where I shined. Like I don't mind sitting behind a computer and looking at contracts. I don't mind that. I prefer that than to be ripping and running all over town, to be honest. I mean, I love working with my core set of clients, but if I had to work with several clients on the same day and go to same different showings, like that would frazzle me. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. So she just naturally started to pay me. I don't even remember us discussing how much or anything, but she paid me around what the going rate is for a transaction coordinator. And this is before we even really knew what a TC was. It wasn't until after that that I started looking to see like this. I don't know where I saw it, and I'm like, okay, this is a real thing. Like in California, they have to get certified. It's a huge thing in California. They get paid a lot more. So anyway, so that's how I kind of got into the transaction coordinator role. And so I would say once I did it for her for about 2 years, and she's still my client, but I did it for her for about 2 years before I actually established real systems, established it as a real business with where I created some systems and templates and things like that. And then I started to open it up for other clients. So I would say when I did that, plus the real estate sales, and I was kind of just really coming into my own with them, that's when I felt like I was on to something and like, okay, I'm kind of a boss. Like I'm really doing well. Like I have checks at the time, like this was before I had my robust accounting system. So like the closing attorney would mail me checks sometimes, and I would have checks because I hate getting paper checks because I don't have time to cash them. I'm not going to go drive to the bank. So then I'm like, I'm going to take a picture of it and I lose the check, whatever. So I'd have checks sitting there for like, one time I had like $750 worth of checks that I hadn't even deposited or missed. And I'm like, okay, that's when I started to feel like, okay, I'm doing well on my own. I no longer feel like, oh my God, I'm a Virgo. What am I doing? It's up to me to get paid and to get this business and to fish and all of this. And it worked out fine, And again, using organic methods to get clients. So even with Time Freedom, I have not had to yet go out and go to cold audiences and sell myself. People are calling me. so that's kind of, when I realized, okay, yeah, I'm doing good.
I'm doing
yeah.
this. I'm a badass.
Right. I don't think I'm gonna have to go back to a real job. Like this is it's up and it's stuck from here. Like I'm just gonna continuously grow.